What's up, guys and gals? Robert here. I wanted to do a video on guitar modifications. There is, I've been into modifying guitars for about as long as I've been playing them, and there's something that I really like about finding a good, solid, inexpensive guitar and kind of making it my own. What I'm holding here is a Squier Standard Series Special Edition Telecaster, and I've had this guitar for probably at least 10 years, maybe a little longer than that. I think I picked it up. It was a clearance thing. Clearance piece that I picked up somewhere for really inexpensive, and at the time that I bought it, I didn't really care much for the way it sounded. Honestly, I had money in my pocket to burn on a guitar, and this was the one that I found that was kind of in the price range of what I had in my pocket, and and something that I can something that I didn't already have. So so I went ahead and picked it up. Mostly, like I said, it was kind of on a whim. Played it a little bit, and it was it's a telly. I'm not a telly guy. I'm not a telly guy at all, and I don't I'm not really much of a Fender guy in general. Telly Strats, none of that stuff is really anything that I'm going to gravitate towards on a regular basis. But it is nice to have have something like this laying around for when I do need that single coil sound. The problem when I bought it was it didn't sound very good, and I wanted to I did some research and found out that there's some things on it that I can improve for minimal cost. And there's two things about it this guitar that I really didn't like. Number one, I didn't like the way it sounded. I thought the pickups were it sounded real muddy, and it just didn't have a lot of clarity. And it didn't stay in tune very well. So in keeping with the same Fender authenticity, I went and bought. These are a set of these are a set of Fender Sumerian Cobalt noiseless pickups. I primarily play humbuckers. I hate single 60 cycle hum. So I wanted a stacked single coil pickup that that wouldn't hum, which is what these are designed for. That, and they've got a thick ceramic magnet in them, and they're actually pretty high output, which again is a little more right up my alley. I also went and got a set of Fender Schaller locking tuners to put on this thing, and now it stays in tune great. Stays in tune great, and for my purposes anyway, it sounds real good. I don't. It's a good telly sound for for that rare occasion when I need I need a single coil telly sound. And there's tons of guitars like that out there that are that are inexpensive, and a lot of people just kind of slough off as cheap guitars, or beneath them, and that's another thing that kind of drives me crazy. But people that think that a guitar just is not good enough for what they're looking for, because it's got cheap electronics in it, or it's a bolt-on neck instead of a set neck, or cheaper hardware, whatever the case may be. The truth of the matter is not everybody can afford a $2,500 Gibson. Most guitar players, unfortunately, cannot afford a $2,500 Gibson, and that's kind of what got me into modifying guitars. Is I wanted to find something that I thought was constructed fairly well, and this one does have it's got a nice neck on it. This one's actually fairly heavy, so I knew it would sustain well enough for me. And I like the way that the neck played. Really what I didn't like about it was the logo, or I'm sorry, not the logo, but the electronics, and the tuners, and I knew even the bridge didn't bother me, but what I was drawn to this guitar because even though it is a Squier, The standard series Squires are usually pretty well built. They're actually not bad guitars at all. Brand new. They're about $250 or so. But this one is a special edition. They did the mirror pit guard and the black painted matching headstock. And to me, it just looked really, really cool. It looked kind of like a motorcycle or something. Very John 5-ish. So I decided that with my own custom tweaks and modifications to it, that it would turn into, I can make it a good guitar, and that's what I did. And I'm gonna go through a few of those that I've done that with over the years, and kind of let you see what some small modifications here and there can do for you. Trebly kind of trashy, what I would call trashy, twangy kind of sound. And most people don't pick up a telly and play it on high gain like I would, but even on some of the lower gain settings, I think it, like I said, I think it sounds pretty good. For my some USA electronics and some some upgraded USA hardware, and I got a good guitar, and a guitar that's going to do, that, like I said, I've had for a better part of 10 years, and it works. It's done exactly what I needed for me to do, and all for a very, very minimal investment. I think I've probably invested, by the time part upgrades and the guitar itself, probably somewhere in the neighborhood of about $300 to $400. Not a bad deal. Alrighty, let's check out some different stuff, shall we? Don't let this guitar fool you. This is actually a counterfeit Gibson Les Paul Custom, and if you look at this thing, it's the shape and size of the headstock are a little bit off. Gibson never stamps their serial numbers into the back of the headstock after they do the finish. They always stamp them before the finish. Looking up real close, the frets are actually installed outside the binding. Gibson always installs the binding over the edges of the frets. So there's a number of things about this guitar that are, if you're familiar with Gibsons, you've been around them a lot. There's a number of things about this one that will tell you, that there's some serious red flags. I'm not here to try to fool anybody with this thing. This is. This is they make these things, they replicate these things over in China, and the reason why they're able to get away with that is because China doesn't have the same copyright laws that we have here in the States, and as such, you can pick these up. You can get online and buy these on the Chinese retail websites, AliExpress, or whatever, one of those places, and they're all over the place on those websites, and they range anywhere from I've seen them from $150 to $200, $300, maybe $400, depending on what it is. Cheaply but well built guitars. I did not buy this one new. This one actually was I got this one in a Craigslist trade with a trade with a buddy of mine, that somehow this just became part of it, and when I got it, the bridge pickup in it was shorting out. There was no bridge pickup in it at all, but the neck pickup in it sounded pretty good. So, it's got a great neck. It plays well. It stayed in tune real well. And it's a good weight for my liking. So I got home, and I opened up the case, and lo and behold, inside the case there was what looked to be a used Seymour Duncan JB model pickup. So I pulled out the Bad Bridge 50 pickup in it. I think it was a 59, and put this JB in it, and left that other 59 in there. Plugged this thing in, and it screams. I've had this guitar for a couple of years, for several years now, and I play it all the time. I love everything about it. It's a great guitar. Very cool guitar. Like I said, I play this one all the time. This one's been kind of cool to play out at gigs, and because your average person in the audience is not going to know the difference whether this is actually a fake Chinese guitar, or if it's a really just a legitimately old beat up Les Paul. Like I said, not that I'm out there trying to rip anybody off of this thing. I would never do that, but from a performance perspective, it does kind of add to that added element for again an investment of about $200 versus an investment of about $4,000. So are you getting Gibson quality with this one? No. I've seen some of these guitars that are absolutely horrid, terribly built, and have no business even being shipped out to a customer, in my opinion. But but there are some good ones out there if you sift through them. So if you find one and you think you're getting a good deal on it, pick it up, see what happens. So here's another one that I like to share with people from time to time. This is an acrylic a BC Rich acrylic series Warlock, circa 2000-ish, early 2000s anyway. These guitars are actually getting really popular on the used market again. Because obviously they're somewhat unique. They had some later versions actually had a wooden headstock as opposed to the acrylic headstock, and there was even some earlier stuff that I don't know ever made production. Some USA stuff that's I've seen a few of them. But they're much more difficult to find, and guys tend to hang on to them. But these were about $500 new when they were out. When you could walk into a Guitar Center or wherever about 10 years ago, and these would be hanging on the wall as new guitars. They were about $500 at the time. That's about what you're going to pay for them on the used market nowadays. That's guys are getting $500 or so. For unmodified, in good condition, unmodified. I think I saw one on GC's website, a used one on GC's website the other day for about $449. When I got this guitar, surprisingly, this is probably the best playing guitar that I own. The action is really, really low. The neck is really, really comfortable. I really, really like this guitar. And the thing when I got it, the thing that I didn't like about it is it's acrylic. Acrylic does not resonate the same way that wood does, and because of that, the stock pickups that they put in them, that BC Rich put in these pickups and these guitars at the time, just didn't do anything. I mean, they were muddy at best, and I mean, it sounded like you were strumming a railroad tie or something like that. I mean, it just had no resonance, no definition, no nothing to the tone whatsoever. It just sounded awful. And I kind of figured with the material this is made out of, that I was going to need something with some serious horsepower, just to be able to get some tone out of this thing. So I went with a set of Seymour Duncan Blackouts, and these are active pickups. These are Seymour Duncan's competition to EMGs. I had never tried these pickups before. It's why I wanted to give them a shot. They do actually seem to, the other guitars I've heard them in, they actually seem to maintain the tone of the guitar a lot better than EMGs do. But still give you that high range, high gain output. Let's see what this thing sounds like. Something cool for everybody. You find a good playing, inexpensive guitar, and you make some simple modifications to it that probably are not going to hurt the value of it long term. And you get a great playing, a great guitar that is customized, specifically to you, and becomes literally your own signature guitar. And that's kind of what I've always gone to do with these things. Sometimes I've gotten luckier than others. There's been some guitars I modified I just couldn't get them to do what I wanted to do. But that's okay. Sometimes that happens. There's as many different ways to modify a guitar as there are guitar players out there to modify them, and that's what makes all your options out there so limitless. So I'm a member of a forum on Facebook called Awesome Cheap Guitars, and go check them out. Those guys post up some pretty cool stuff on a daily basis. Great deals that they've found, and great awesome modifications to some really cool guitars that some of I had never thought of before, and there's just a lot of cool stuff, and a real cool community to be a part of out there. So go check those guys out, and feel free to leave your comments down below. Please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I will be happy to answer those questions as best I can. And thanks for watching.